the 1 billion rands hit that took down Cape Town's biggest construction boss. Chapter 1. A Deal with the Devil. Cape Town had long been plagued by corruption, but no one foresaw the storm that was about to hit. Abdul Qadir Davids, a well-known construction boss from Mitchell's Plain, found himself at the heart of a scandal worth 1 billion rands. His name surfaced in a bombshell investigation that linked him to fraudulent tenders and one of Cape Town's most dangerous gangs. Just days after posting an eye-watering 250,000 rands bail, he walked down Ascot Street in Beacon Valley, unaware that his fate had already been sealed. It was 9 p.m. on September 19, 2024, and the streets were eerily quiet. A black SUV rolled up beside him, its engine humming like a predator stalking its prey. Before he could react, gunshots tore through the silence of the night. The first bullet struck his shoulder, spinning him around in shock. The second hit his neck, cutting off his last words before he could scream. 2 more slammed into his back, sending him to the ground. As he lay bleeding on the pavement, a final shot to the face ensured he would never testify. The car sped away, vanishing into the darkness as swiftly as it had come. Within minutes, his neighbors gathered around his lifeless body, whispering among themselves. Some suspected a gang hit. Others believed it was a silencing orchestrated by someone even more powerful. One thing was certain: Cape Town's biggest corruption scandal had just turned deadly. Chapter 2. Blood Money and Betrayal. Before his death, Davids was already a marked man. His downfall began when investigators from the city of Cape Town uncovered a massive fraud scheme involving public tenders. These tenders were meant to fund critical construction projects, but instead, the money flowed into the hands of corrupt businessmen and gangsters. Davids, along with former DA member Malusi Bowie, was accused of manipulating the bidding process. The city's report revealed that he had been working closely with Nicole Johnson, the wife of alleged 28's gang boss Ralph Stanfield. The revelation sent shockwaves through the public. How deep did the corruption go? Davids tried to deny any involvement, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. When he finally stood in the Cape Town Magistrate's Court, the gravity of the accusations became clear. He and Bowie were charged with defrauding the city of an astonishing 1 billion rands. But Davids had more than just the law to worry about. Whispers spread that he had crossed the wrong people. Whether it was the politicians, the gangsters, or both, someone wanted him gone. When he left the courthouse on bail, the clock had already started ticking. Chapter 3. The Web of Corruption. Davids was more than just a businessman. He was the sole director of ZSM Developers, a construction company that had flourished through city contracts. But there was something about his success that didn't quite add up. In July, city manager officials launched an investigation into his dealings after detecting irregularities in the tender applications. It didn't take long to reveal that Davids wasn't acting alone. His company had suspicious ties to Nicole Johnson and Mohammed Ahmad, the masterminds behind Boone Group. Their scheme was both simple and highly effective. Multiple companies, all secretly controlled by the same individuals, would submit tenders for the same project. No matter which company won, the money always ended up in the same pockets. Investigators suspected fraud but needed concrete proof. That's when they brought in a handwriting expert to analyze the documents. What they uncovered was shocking. Many of the tenders had been completed by the same person. The web of deceit was expanding, and Davids was now at the center of a 1 billion rand conspiracy. But what he didn't realize was that his biggest threat wasn't the law. It was the very people he had been conspiring with. Chapter 4. The Smoking Gun. The case took a dramatic turn when investigators stumbled upon a crucial piece of evidence, signatures that didn't match. Upon comparing the documents, they discovered that ZSM Developers' application, which was supposedly competing against Johnson's company, had been signed by her mother, Barbara. This revelation shattered any illusion of legitimacy. If 2 supposedly rival companies were controlled by the same family, there had never been any real competition. It was an elaborate scam designed to drain government funds. When confronted, Davids insisted he was merely a cleaner and had no role in the fraud. However, legal correspondence proved otherwise. He had been formally notified of the allegations. The city had already reported him to the SAP's Commercial Crimes Unit, and prosecutors were closing in. Yet before the case could fully unfold, he was silenced. Whoever orchestrated his murder had delivered a chilling message. Some secrets were far too dangerous to be revealed. Chapter 5. A Target on His Back. Despite the serious charges against him, Davids managed to secure bail. In court, he claimed to be a simple man, barely making ends meet, and said he could only afford 2,500 rands. Yet somehow he produced the full 250,000 rands required for his release. Where did the money come from? That question would never be answered. A close associate later revealed that after his arrest, Davids had become increasingly paranoid. He believed powerful forces were working against him. He changed his daily routines, avoided familiar places, and refused to answer calls from unknown numbers. But paranoia alone wasn't enough to protect him. On September 19th, he decided to take a walk. A fatal mistake. A car pulled up beside him, and within seconds, gunfire rang out. Witnesses later said he never saw it coming. His body hit the pavement, his killers leaving behind nothing but spent cartridges and unanswered questions. Chapter 6. Death in the Shadows. The crime scene was chilling. When police arrived, they found Davids lying face down in a pool of blood. He had been shot 5 times, each bullet a calculated execution. The gunman had made sure there were no mistakes. Officers recovered 5 shell casings from the scene, but there were no immediate leads. The murder was professional, clean, and efficient. Neighbors who heard the gunshots were too afraid to talk. One woman, speaking anonymously, said she heard rapid gunfire followed by silence. Another neighbor saw a black SUV speeding away, its taillights fading into the darkness. When police questioned David's girlfriend, she insisted he had no ties to gangs. But if that was true, why was he killed? And more importantly, who wanted him dead? Chapter 7. The cover-up begins. The official police report was vague. Lieutenant Colonel Malcolm, a spokesperson for the SAP, confirmed the murder but revealed few details. He stated that detectives from the anti-gang unit were handling the investigation. The circumstances surrounding the death of the 42-year-old victim are under investigation, he said. But behind closed doors, speculation ran rampant. Some suspected that Davids had been silenced to protect powerful figures. Others believed the 28th gang had eliminated him for attracting too much attention. Either way, one thing was certain. The billion-rand scandal had cost him his life. Now the pressing question remained. Would anyone be held accountable, or was this just another crime doomed to fade into Cape Town's dark history? Chapter 8. A Billion Reasons to Kill Stru. As the investigation unfolded, one thing became undeniable. Davids was never meant to speak. He had been treading a perilous path, trapped between corrupt officials and ruthless criminals. Whether he had learned too much or had simply outlived his usefulness, someone had decided his time was up. His murder sent shockwaves through the city, yet those who profited from the billion-rand fraud remained untouched. The true masterminds were still at large, and the money was still unaccounted for. 1 billion rands had vanished, along with the only man who could have uncovered the truth. The case remained open, but everyone knew the harsh reality. Justice in Cape Town came at a cost, and Davids had just paid the ultimate price.